Hello, beautiful souls. Welcome back to this last episode of Sun Through the Houses. And the sun is now fully out, so I don't need my thick jacket anymore. So we are going to be going through, in this video, Sun in the 9th house to the 12th house. So I highly recommend that you watch my sort of the first part of the first video that I made on this series, sort of like the introduction, if you're new to what is the sun, what are the houses in astrology, and how can you get your birth chart. So I'll provide a link to that in the description box below and probably up here as well somewhere. And of course, what I say in this video will be mitigated because of aspects and other things that may be going on in your birth chart. So I would also highly recommend that you look deeper into the aspects and other placements in your birth chart. And if you would love to do that, then I highly recommend that you join our Patreon community as well, where we are doing lots of exclusive astrology videos on aspects in the birth chart, in the synastry composite, going through gene keys and other human design series. All right, so with that being said, let's dive into the sun in the 9th house. So sun in the 9th house is one of those houses, one of those people that I also really like to be around because they're very smart, very intelligent. If you have sun in this placement, you are all about knowledge and higher learning, and you tend to be very good with foreign languages. If you have sun in the 9th house, comment below and let me know how many languages you speak, because most likely you're going to be speaking more than your native language. You're likely to be speaking 3-4 languages, and you just really love that. Like one of my very close friends have this sun placement, and she doesn't just love learning foreign languages, but she also loves foreigners. She loves to travel, and she loves expanding her mind through different types of spiritual, I'm not sure if spiritual is the right word, but self-growth practices like meditation or yoga. You know, these are the things that 9th house people just really love to engage themselves in. And, you know, you might find that your career sort of takes you overseas. That would be the best option for you, is to be open to either working with foreigners if you're not working overseas, or just working overseas. That's kind of where you are most likely to shine, is amongst people that are not actually from your place of birth. You might have grown up with a father figure who was somewhat religious, or maybe somebody in your family who played the father role, could be the mother, who was a little bit more on the religious side of things. And at one point in your life, you need to be able to step away from that earlier childhood version of yourself to be able to figure out, like, what do you believe in, you know, because you know what your parents believed in, you know what your father believed in, what do you really believe in? And there will be cycles of believing in this and believing in that, and trying out different belief systems, maybe trying out to explore different religions even, until you finally find something that works for you. And 7th and 9th house people also make really great teachers, but teachers in a sense of like lecturing or preaching, you know, not like a teacher who has to really explain simple concepts to children, not like that, but like a teacher in like a university type of setting. In the negative aspect side of sun in the 9th house, what I've noticed when people have this is that you could be very lectury. Like, it could be really hard to talk to you because you kind of think that you know better, or that you know it all. And, you know, it can be kind of that type of situation kind of come up as well. So sometimes, when sun in the 9th house people, when you get into that state of thinking that you know better, that is when you stop yourself from growing. Because you could be, going on a 14-day meditation retreat, right? And you come out of it and you think that you've gotten pretty much everything that you needed to. Like, your ego just gets boosted from that. That's kind of the irony here, is that these types of practices, that self-growth practices that sun and 9th house people love to do, you cannot attach your ego to that. That's the whole point of these types of practices, is that they are meant to make you grow. But the more that you grow, the more that you know that you don't know. So when you can admit to yourself, or when you can say to yourself that you don't actually know anything, that you don't know everything that you think that you know, you don't know everything about that subject that you think that you know. So this is going to vary depending on the sign of the sun. If it's in like let's say maybe Taurus or Libra, maybe you think you know a lot about your relationships, but you actually don't. And by limiting yourself, you're not growing in your relationships. If it's, let's say, maybe in Scorpio or something, you could think that you know a lot about people and their psychology and investment and money, but if you stop yourself there, then you're no longer evolving and growing. So that's kind of the negative aspects of Sun in the ninth house. But I think in general, this placement is just a really bright Sun placement, and I just love hanging out around these people because they're very open-minded and they're very non-judgmental towards all kinds of religions and culture. All right, let's move on to Sun in the 10th house. I have a dear friend with this placement. So when you have Sun in the 10th house, it is going to be so that your confidence and your self-esteem and what you strive for in life is going to be that, I don't know if I would use the word like career achievement. I think career achievement is more like Sun in the 6th house. Sun in the 6th house people want to achieve something in their career. But Sun in the 10th house people want to be seen by the public. You may want to have some kind of present yourself in some ways on social media, or maybe you just have to be out there, in the world, like being seen by people. That is when you really gain a sense of self-confidence. You also have this thing about justice. And so Sun in the 10th house people can, depending on the sign, can either be very much like upholders of the law. Some signs, they'll be more upholders of cosmic laws. And they really want to do justice, whether it's the laws of the earth, in the world that we live in, societal laws, or whether it's the cosmic law. They want to make sure that it's being done right, that whoever's following these laws are being justified for what they do. And being able to do that also brings you a sense of self-confidence and self-esteem in a way too. I also feel like when you are very much absorbed in law, whether that is societal laws or cosmic laws, you may be very good with balancing your right brain and your left brain. But that can also be a challenge because sometimes people with their sign in the 10th house use the left brain in situations in life when they should be using their right brain. And they are using their right brains in situations in life when they should be using their left brain. So for example, when it comes to relationships, right? That might be a sign that it's better to use the right brain. Use your heart. But people with displacement may end up using too much of their logic and talking themselves into situations that's not the best for them. When it comes to practices that may be needing to use your heart or your intuition, they end up using, the logical brain, and so on and so forth. So because there is this, it's kind of like, it's not even Libra, but it's like they're trying to make sure that things are being done the right way. Again, whether that is societally right or cosmically right. So when you have Sun in the 10th house, you are not going to be so much of a domestic type, okay? And if you are a domestic type, then the things that happen in your home may become like a business to you. So it's really important that you do whatever it takes when you have the Sun placement to accomplish something. Because if you're not accomplishing something, if you keep talking yourselves out of accomplishing something, if you put other things as a priority above this, if your life is chaotic, if you are always moving your home, if you are always changing your relationships, and if you don't have that grounding of the 4th house, there's no grounding or stability in your life, it's going to be really hard for you to accomplish something. And when you are not accomplish something, you're just not going to feel good about yourself, and you will not have that solid sense of ego built. So therefore, I would even say with this Sun placement, like making sure that you have a home, first of all, that is stable for you. Don't ignore that very important part of life in order to bloom from. Like if a flower doesn't have roots planted firmly in the ground, that flower is not going to be able to bloom in the best way possible. So making sure that you are tending to your roots as well, making sure that you're tending to your home, that you are doing the inner work that is needed, meditations and working through your family karma, and building relationships with your father and your mother so that that base is strong enough for you to bloom from. So with Sun in the 10th house, it's also really important to know that you have really good managerial skills. So therefore, if you're starting a business, which a lot of you want to do, don't do everything by yourself. You can be a really talented Sun in the 10th house person, and you think that you have to do it all by yourself. Like you have to do the website by yourself, you have to do the marketing by yourself, you have to do the client, taking care of the clients by yourself. No, that is not how Sun in the 10th house should work. You have to be able to delegate, all right? Because you are made for something much more than just the energy of doing all of these things by yourself. You're made to change the way other people can work and bring out their talents. So, of course, the things I say here may be mitigated and changed here and there depending on aspects in your birth charts and other placements in your birth charts. So I highly recommend that you dive deeper into that by joining me in our community on Patreon, where I am putting out lots of exclusive astrology videos on aspects in the birth chart, in the synastry, composite charts, and gene keys and human design series. So I'll provide a link to that in the description box below, and check it out. All right, Sun in the 11th house. This is one of my favorite Sun placements. You just cannot go wrong with this one. I love this one. My partner Aryan has Sun in the 11th house. I have a dear friend Sarah. You saw her on the channel. She has Sun in the 11th house. And lots of people that are just so friendly. This is like Sun in the 7th house as well. They're like really friendly. But Sun in 11th house is like less charmer, but more easygoing. So when you have this, you're just really easygoing. You're down for anything. You can go for anything. You can do much anything. And if somebody is not in the mood to do something with you, you're like, okay, you're chill. Like this is a really chill Sun placement. Like super chill people. So your sense of ego structure and your sense of self-confidence really gets solid when you are able to accomplish something that is for the benefit of the world at large or the community that you belong in. And like I said, Sarah has Sun in the 11th house and she just recently joined the Peace Corps. What do you know, right? That's a very much Sun in the 11th house kind of a mission. So Sun in the 11th house really has a special mission, a mission to unify people in a way. And however you want to interpret that, that's up to you. But there is this mission to unify people. But you know, the Sun doesn't do its best in the 11th house because the 11th house is like the 7th house. It's the house of other people. And here we're talking about large groups of people. So Sun in the 11th house will go through periods of your life where you are figuring yourself out based on the kinds of people that you are with. And you need to be able to put yourself into different types of communities, social settings, in order for you to like figure yourself out. But at the same time, you have to balance that with your own creative projects. So this is when we get into the negative aspects of Sun in the 11th house. It's when you're just always socializing and you are afraid to bring out your creative talents and creative gifts. So you may be in a job working or working on some kind of project that is really external, like it's like outward. Okay, so let's say maybe you're building a community village or something. It's very Sun in the 11th house. You're building this village for your community and you're doing that like every single day. But deep inside of you, there is this talent for writing. And you could be a really great writer. And if you wrote a book, if you could spend time alone to write your book, you could also change the world. So you have to balance these two things, right? So there's a way in which sometimes Sun in the 11th house people are a little bit afraid to be alone. There can be a fear of loneliness here. They're afraid to just sit in their room, start writing their book, and then they're like, okay, well, if I put it out there, what if it gets rejected? So they go for the path that is the easiest and almost like an instant social gratification. This is not like an instant pleasurable gratification. They can also have that as well, but instant social gratification where you know that if you do this, you won't be alone. You know that if you do this, at least you'll be around people. And that is something that you have to figure out. Is there a some kind of, maybe when you were younger, where you felt really lonely, if you have Sun in 11th house and you go throughout your teens and your 20s and you didn't really have a social life, you were more of a loner, you didn't have a lot of friends, but yet you have Sun in the 11th house, that can really do some damage to your self-esteem and your self-confidence. And so being able to work on your social skills again is going to be very important. It's kind of like Sun in the 7th house, where I said if you went through your teens and your 20s and you've never had a one-to-one relationship, that can really damage your self-confidence. Same here, but this is more for friendships and social groups. So being able to figure out what can you bring to the group. That is most important. Like, what skills, what talents can you bring to the group? Because if you don't know what you have to bring to a team, a group, a situation where you're in, around other people, you can end up almost seeming like too easygoing. You can end up almost seeming like you're okay with anything, and people are really confused about where you stand and who you are and what you're actually offering here, right? They can be kind of like confused with that. And so you may not be an important person or important part of that group or that team or that community or that society, because you're just there without actually, and then your ego doesn't have a place to feel good and your self-confidence doesn't get boosted, because although you're going for the surface level superficial gratification of I'm around people, but deep down it's not getting fulfilled because you're not bringing the talent into serving those people. When you bring out your talent, you are able to serve the world in a way that is beyond yourself, that is bigger than yourself. So I guess the last thing I want to say with Sun in 11th house is, don't just be part of a group just to be part of a group. That's not the end-all be-all of where your mission lies. Be part of a group because you have something inside of you that you want to bring in, that you want to change in that group so that it can change the world. All right, so what I say here, there could be changes to it depending on aspects in your birth chart, aspects to the sun, and other placements in your birth chart. So if you want to go deeper into that, I highly recommend that you join me and our community on Patreon. I'll provide a link in the description box below, where I am putting out exclusive videos on aspects in the birth chart, in the synastry, and in the composite charts, as well as Gene Keys and Human Design series. So do check that out. Last but not least, Sun in the 12th house. So I recently made a video, well, not recently, actually it's like 2 years ago, on Sun in the 12th house, and I still think that has been and is the most comprehensive and holistic Sun in the 12th house video that I've ever made. So I'll provide a link to that, maybe up above here somewhere, and also in the description box below. Do check that video out as well. That's going to go way deeper than what I'm telling you today. But what I want to share with you today that maybe I didn't share in that video with Sun in the 12th house is that the mission of Sun in the 12th house is really about learning to let go. And that video that I made is talking a lot about that. Learning to let go of people that you can't save, especially your father. And, the relationship with your father, I talk all about in that video. But I want to add to that the other mission, that brings you self-confidence with Sun in the 12th house and brings you a solid ego structure with Sun in the 12th house, is when you're able to tap into your imagination. And when you're able to do something with your creative and imaginative abilities, whatever that might be, right? And allow yourself to be a little weird and a little crazy. You can't go wrong with Sun in the 12th house here, because a lot of people have compassion for you. You have this energy where you are just so naive. There's a naivete about Sun in 12th house people. You have almost like this innocence. Yes, there's an innocence with Sun in 12th house because it's almost like the womb. 12th house is the womb. It's even before birth. You're even before the baby. There's complete and total innocence that people tend to see that you have. So with that innocence, you have to make sure that you're letting out your weird self and your craziness. That is the only way that you'll be fulfilled. If you're not doing that, if you're not allowing yourself to be absorbed in the fantasy, in the imagination, you may find that you are constantly dissatisfied with life and that you're always wishing that the grass or feeling like the grass is greener on the other side. And that's what you're constantly seeking, is the other side, the other thing. And of course, this can lead to like you being in a job that is dissatisfying and you're feeling like a victim in that job. Oh my God. Sun in the 12th house. I cannot tell you that if you're in a victim state, if you're not taking action to change your life, you will not find happiness or a sense of self-confidence. So if you're in a job or there's something happening in your job that you feel is not satisfying for you, infuse an element of magic, mysticism, fantasy. Use your imagination, creativity, unique, innovative, weird perspective and creativity into that. I think of the Hanged Man card when I think of this placement, like Sun in the 8th house, I was thinking of the Wheel of Fortune. Sun in the 12th house, I'm like thinking of the Hanged Man card. Don't be a victim to that. Don't just keep thinking that, why is this happening to me? I can't change the situation. Let that go. Let it go and know that it's okay for me to be weird. It's okay for you to be weird. And that you can let go of the mundane. You can let go of the way that things should be. You can let go of the perspective that is the common perspective. And you can embrace the freaky, the weird, the fantasy perspective. When you do that, when you live the fantasy in this world, you will no longer feel like life is unfulfilling or the grass is greener on the other side. So there's a lot of astrologers out there that will say that this sun placement will do best in service types of careers, in close types of setting. And I want to say that there is some truth to that. There is some truth to service, but expand your definition of service, because you're not going to be doing well in service like 6th house service where you're going to have to be an effing nurse. You're going to keep feeling like the grass is greener on the other side if you're doing that kind of service. Your kind of service is the kind of service where you are bringing magic into the world, where you are letting people know that the world is boundless, it's infinite. You are a star here in a human form, you're this cosmic being. And what are you going to do with that? We all need you because you make the world more colorful. You make the world not brighter, but more colorful, right? You can use those rose-colored glasses and actually infuse that into what you do. But don't always wear those rose-colored glasses, of course, because yes, if you're always wearing those rose-colored glasses, then you'll feel like a victim and you'll feel like delusioned, that thinking that the grass could be greener on the other side. Wear those rose-colored glasses and be aware of when you're wearing it, when you need to wear it, and when you need to take it off. So when you have the sun placement, maybe it makes it easier for you to assume a role, like acting or taking on like some kind of a role where you get to put on those colored glasses and you get to go wild with your imagination and with your fantasy ideas, and then step out of that role and be in the real world and actually do your taxes and pay your bills and rent and stuff like that. And then have that escape, because the 12th house is all about escape. Have that escape where you're taking on some kind of fantasy role, right? I don't know why I think of cosplay when I think of this sun placement as well. But yeah. So that's kind of what I wanted to share with this particular placement. So besides from that, I would say that when you have sun in 12th house, your journey in this life, your life path, your life's work here is going to be to always constantly figure out your subconscious, is to continuously understand your dreams, like actual dreams, like when you fall asleep, like what are your dreams? To overcome your fears, especially fears of letting go of how things should be. And depending on the sign, you know, if it's like in Scorpio or Taurus, letting go of money, poverty mindset and things like that. But really letting go of all of those things and just letting the magic of life unfold for you and see what happens. All right, so that is going to be my interpretation. Of course, what I say here can definitely change depending on aspects in your birth chart and aspects to the sun. So if you want to dive deeper into aspects in the birth chart, then I highly recommend that you join me and our Patreon community. I'll provide a link in the description box below to my Patreon page. I would love to see you there. I am putting out exclusive astrology videos for aspects in the birth chart, for synastry composite. We're doing gene keys and human design series there as well. So I would love to see you there. And that's going to be it for this video. If you're interested in a reading, I'll provide a link in the description box below as well. Sending you guys so much love. Let me know which planet through the houses you would like me to do next, and I would be excited to be doing that for you guys. All right, bye.